so I can get it over to my other computer. Don't feel like you need to do anything with that.
Okay.
And you can see the full like screen preview of the agenda, right? I don't have anything blocking it.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Max, I sent an e-blast out for this meeting, right? You're muted.
Looking now, hold on. Yes.
Thank you.
Will, if you're here, actually, I realized I need to be given co-hosts. Maybe I'll G-chat you. Oh, thank you. Sorry, I should have asked earlier. I didn't realize.
Thanks, Max. I was just about, or Will, I was just about to chat you. I hope someone else shows up.
Yeah, let me look at the sign-in. Yeah, there's several people that have signed up already previously.
Thank you.
It looks like maybe 15 or so far.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Will, are you there?
He
Is
may or
Will-
may not be because he has another meeting
Oh,
he's
yes,
doing.
Kohler.
He might be here. Yeah.
I'm in.
I think he has the
Kohler.
Kohler task force to run.
There he is.
Well, are you doing both at the same time?
Well, Max is doing this.
Can't
Just
hear
have-
you.
Oh, Will.
You can't hear me?
Oh,
Very, very, very little.
Oh,
Oh, but I do see you have trees out your window. I've never seen that view before. That's because you have us on one screen and Kohler on the other.
can you hear me now? No, still can't hear me. I can read what I'm saying.
You're there, but it's very faint.
I can hear you. It's on the softer side. I can hear you though.
You don't sound like Max.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be in the meeting, so
Okay.
I'll be in the other one, but I'll be able to hear
Kohler.
you guys if there's ever
Okay.
a problem.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
I too have not seen that view from that window. Actually, maybe he showed us once. It looks like some nice greenery.
It does. I think it does. I always forget about that 4 o'clock meeting, Max.
Oh, yes. Yeah, when you called, that's where I was.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I see we're streaming now. And good. Oh, we have someone else joined. But it's early still. We still have, 5
Right.
minutes. We can wait.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to get a drink of water, but I will leave the mic on because otherwise it is hard, but I'm just going to turn off the video. I'll be back in a minute, okay?
Sounds good. No rush. Alita, attendance is starting to grow, but if you want to wait another moment or two, that's fine as well, because I do see a few more people signing in. It's up to you, though.
Okay, well, I feel like we should at least have more members of the committee here. I see
Yeah.
Barry. Hi, Barry. And I know our guest stars, Mick and, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Uta are here. So let's wait another couple of minutes.
Uta is giving her thumbs up, saying that you pronounced it correctly, I believe.
Good. It's so I'm not very good at names, as everyone has heard.
Oh, I see Rita just joined as well.
Hey, Rita. We'll give it another minute, Max. And thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, for coming in on time.
Sounds good. I'll begin with the pre-meeting talking points. And
That's a great idea. Thank you, Max.
Sure. Welcome, everyone.
Before you do that, Max, could you take off the agenda from the screen so that we'll be able to see who's speaking? Thanks.
Yep, actually, that was Will. So thank Will. But yes.
Okay, you could do your thing. And let me just say in advance, because I always forget at the end of the meeting, thank you so much, Max, for what you're about to do. And thank you, Will,
you're too kind. Thank you, Alita. All right, welcome, everyone. If this is your first time joining us, everyone will remain muted throughout the meeting except Alita, who is the chair, and presenters. Following the presentation, Alita will call on members of the public that wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon and pressing raise hand and not the wave or thumbs up feature. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling from the phone, it's star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute. Be on the lookout at that time for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once the co-chairs call on you. Please note the chat is for technical support only to help with Zoom software problems and not to ask questions of Alita. She will not see the chats. If you have an older version of Zoom, you'll need to go to the participants section at the bottom of your screen where you'll find the raise hand feature there. And finally, don't wave at the screen or raise your actual hand because we may not be able to see you. And with that, to Alita we go.
Thanks, Max, again. Okay, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the May meeting of the Community Board 8 Arts Committee. I will very quickly go through the first item on the agenda. I've been in touch with the New York City Human Rights Commission, who has an initiative with people around the city to do murals relating to issues of human rights concerns. We had spoken about Ryan Dubois, who would attend the meeting and I think is coming in June. The muralist that the commission uses, though, is leaving New York. So that particular collaboration is ending, but I would hope that in this great big city we have, there is another muralist. Anyway, if you drive around other cities such as Philadelphia and Baltimore or East Harlem, I was out in Brooklyn over the weekend, there are quite a lot of murals. They add a lot to communities, and it may be possible to do something interesting here on the Upper East Side. So that's my update on that. And hopefully in June, Ryan will be able to attend and will be able to speak to the idea of murals. Okay, then on to item 2. Max, if you could unmute Mick Malamphy and Uta Schmidt-Keys from Origin Theater Company. Mick has an announcement about his own status there, but I invited Mick and and Uta to talk about not Origin Theater per se, but about presenting live theater, both increasing the amount of live theater on the Upper East Side and also potentially being able to bring theater to James Cagney Place over the summer. And to that end, we also have, I think, representatives from Talent Unlimited High School at JRAC, Julia Richmond Education Complex. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mick Malamphy, who is formerly one of our very own. He used to sit on CB8, but he has since moved. He's a talented actor who is now involved with the Origin Theater Company. And we both thought that it would be interesting to have some kind of outdoor presentations. We don't seem to have any streets eligible for the mayor's open culture program, except we have our own James Cagney Place. And I think over the summer, it would certainly be exciting for all of us arts and theater and culture deprived residents from this COVID period to be able to see something interesting. So I see you've already been unmuted. Thanks, Max. Mick and Uta, welcome. And Mick, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Well, thanks very, very much for having us both on tonight. I'm absolutely thrilled that you've gone ahead and created this committee. I think it's very important. I know you and I, Alida, have had lengthy discussions about the importance of arts in general, but also theatre to New York City as a whole. Theatre is worth over $16 billion a year to the coffers of New York. So it's not just a hobby, it's big business. I'm thrilled to be taken over as artistic director of Origin Theater Company. Origin Theater Company is a theater company that's been in existence for almost 2 decades. It was founded in 2002. It's the only theater company which is completely devoted to introducing New York audiences to work and perspectives of playwrights from across Europe. Our nonprofit programming includes off-Broadway productions. We have an annual First Irish Theatre Festival, which is actually now in its 13th year. We have an immersive Bloomsday celebration every year, which we're currently planning for June 13th, just south of CB8 at Bloom's Tavern on 58th Street, between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. We hold new work readings throughout the year. We hold artistic workshops, and right now, I know Sunday was Mother's Day here in the United States, but it was also Europe Day. And throughout the month of May, we celebrate the European Month of Culture. And this year we have readings from 5 European playwrights from Lithuania, Spain, Greece, Ireland, and Romania as part of our European Month of Culture celebration. And we also have a partnership with the Scandinavian American Theatre Company, who will be holding a panel discussion all about the future of theatre from the perspective of young artists here in New York City. So like I said, I was very excited to take over at Origin. It's been a company that's really kind of kept my career burning for years, especially with the First Irish Festival. And I know quite a number of people from the board are fans of their work. And we're currently in the process of setting up programming for our 2021-2022 season. I'm delighted to announce that Origin hasn't gone away and hasn't closed its doors throughout the last 12 months. It's been a particularly challenging time for people in the arts, but Origin stuck to its guns. We produced our Bloomsday celebration last year, which was all online, and we also took on the mammoth task of producing the first Irish Theatre Festival entirely virtual back in January. So that's something that I think the board of Origin, the previous artistic director, George Heslin, and the staff, including our new general manager here, Uta Schmidt-Keys, need to be applauded for continuing the work of Origin Theatre Company. And the fact that they've taken on a new artistic director kind of tells us that, you know, they believe that the future is bright. We do work quite a bit with 59 East 59 every year at First Irish, which is a wonderful establishment in Community Board 8 over there on 59th Street, just off Madison Avenue. And it looks like we'll be continuing that relationship with First Irish 2022. But as Alida alluded to earlier, I'm very interested in bringing Origin to the Upper East Side. We're still in the process of coming up with programming for our upcoming season, but certainly after COVID in the last 12 months, the idea of outdoor theatre especially is one that's extremely appealing to me. Bringing new audiences and introducing people to theatre in new spaces is something that's been close to my heart since I was a drama student back in Cork in Ireland a long, long time ago. And that's a conversation that I'm certainly willing to, you know, hopefully continue with you all here on the Arts Committee at Community Board 8. I'd like to introduce the new General Manager of Origin as well. Uta, if you'd like to say a couple of words to the board and to people tuned in about Origin and...
Sure. Well, thank you for having me here. I'm very excited. I do live in Hell's Kitchen, but I'm pretty familiar also with Community Board 8. I have been with Origin Theatre for a while. I actually served on their board for about 7 years, almost 8. And the pandemic hit us all, and I was furloughed, and Origin Theatre was in a time of transition, and they asked me if I could help because they really needed someone who knew the organization to make the transition easier. And I said, sure, I can help out. So it's a part-time transition for me, but my background is in art history actually, and I have been in the cultural travel sector as well. And it was easy to transition to a non-for-profit because I worked for 10 years in a museum. So I was hired in January as the general manager and just have been keeping the theater alive from the back end, so to speak, and very, very happy that Mick joined us. And happy to move forward and get theater back out there again. So very happy.
Uta, one thing that I know has been a big issue on Community Board 8 for years is really kind of looking to utilize the public spaces on the Upper East Side, whether it's along the river, whether it's at Roosevelt Island, or as Alida said, James Cagney Park there. And I think it's something that it excites me to think that we have partners on the Upper East Side that we might be able to actually work with and build part of our programming with. So this is part of a broader conversation that I think I would like to have with you all in the coming months, in the coming weeks actually, to try and start figuring out how we go about this.
Absolutely.
Yes, so that's a question of mine is how do we go about this and bring some theater? So I guess from the working group, we've had visions of sugar plums. No, that's Christmas. We've had visions of small performances on James Cagney Place, not just theater, but music and storytellers, maybe magicians, comedy. Do you have, and I guess at our next working group meeting, we could talk specifically because summer's right around the corner. Mm-hmm. And while it's hot and steamy in July and August, it still seems like maybe it's a good time to try and do something. We have our art show coming up in June. And if you know any artists that are connected to the Upper East Side that would like to submit work for inclusion, please have them do that. We have a flyer. And it's, I guess information could be found on the Arts Committee page, I hope. And then in addition, as it gets cooler, we could talk about ways to bring more theater up here and have some kind of collaboration or space. I'm glad to hear that 59 East 59th Street will be back in business, because I was subscribing to it prior to COVID, and they've had some really excellent small productions that are just great fun. So I guess I would ask if you would see what kind of short, either one-act plays or excerpts from something. It's good to have both theater that people are really familiar with, in my opinion. I don't know what the rest of the committee thinks, as well as something that's new, thought-provoking, different for the population that has been deprived. So I'll ask right now if there are questions from the public. I know Rita has her hand up, but is there anyone else with any questions? Okay, then Max, would you unmute Rita, please?
Of course.
And I should say before Rita starts speaking, and that Rita is very involved with James Cagney Plays, and very generously and graciously has offered the use of James Cagney Plays to the Arts Committee and our Arts Initiative City Canvas. And so thank you very much for that, Rita. And I know I'm personally very excited about doing lots of things there, starting with the art show. So Rita, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. And hi, Mick.
Hi, Rita. It's so good to see you.
I miss you.
I miss you. I miss you all.
Let's get out on the golf course together and we'll talk. I want you to know the street is yours.
Wow.
You do not have to file for a permit because it is already a closed street and it doesn't require the police to come and close it. So that's done. We also have, in the middle of the block at the James Cagney Memorial, is the buildings have put in, there is electrical source.
Oh, wow.
I have electrical source, and the building is very, very kind to me and has never said no in my using of the electrical source. They're thrilled that the block is being used. And because there is a gate at either end that people can't, that gate is really for the fire department in case of a fire, that it's a perfect place for balloons and a poster announcing what you're going to do, and then the day of. So it's an outside format. I can't control the weather, but I can, if you don't have my name and number, I will definitely give it to you. Anything that you want to come up, you want to take a look, whatever it is, it's yours.
Well, I really, really appreciate that, Rita. And that's actually one of the questions I think myself and Uta and people at Origin have been asking, is when it comes to permits and this sort of business, because I know there's been a lot of change in the last 12 months between what's allowed and what's not allowed in a public space. So just to know that we have your support, that really, really means the world to us. And also, don't worry about the weather. I grew up in Ireland where we used to do outdoor theatre quite a bit. And come hail, rain or shine, we would still get it on. So that's another, I know January and August, it tends to be quite nice anyway. So we keep our fingers crossed for that.
This is very exciting. And I just want you to know you are welcome. If there is loud sound, then we have to get a sound permit from the 19th precinct. I have somebody who will get it for you. We are having on the first day of summer solstice, there is Make Music New York throughout the city one day. And the city pays for it, and they are coming, and the only thing we need is a permit for sound.
Yeah. That's great. It's really great to know. Thank you so much for your support from the whole committee. This is great because, like I said, we're currently in the process of coming up with programming for the next season. And certainly if I can build something into the programming prior to the end of the summer, it would look great for Origin, and it would also, I think, it'd be great for the neighborhood,
Mick, it's yours.
Thank you very much.
So then maybe Mick, we could speak, or maybe you have some ideas about something that could be put on in that space that doesn't require a lot of actors, obviously can't require sets or anything else. I know we want to be able to hear the actors unless it's a mime performance, and there aren't too many of those. So we need to, I guess, if Rita can get permits, that's really useful. So I guess if you have a couple of things you could submit it, I could send it around to members of the committee, and then we could talk about it at the next meeting. I'm thinking, again, subject to everyone else, that it would be maybe a good idea to start with something from Origin and something from you. I've seen you perform numerous times. You don't have to be in it, but if you wanted to, that would be a homecoming of sorts. And it would be, I think, having theater out there would be a good start to the summer. So if there's something you're familiar with, I don't know, length, we could talk about that. I think we've been alternating meetings and working groups, committee meetings and working groups. So next month would be a working group, and we could talk about that and how to get started.
Great. And I am also very interested, just pivoting here a little bit, but putting on my small business hat. I'm also very interested in, building partnerships with some of the brilliant business owners on the Upper East Side there. Whether it's our friend Courtney up at UES with the ice cream store, theater, ice cream, summertime. It just seems to go hand in hand,
It does indeed. And actually, since I'm co-chair of the Small Business Committee, we have a great circle here.
You really do.
The arts are small businesses, artists are small businesses, theaters are small businesses. And you're absolutely right that the revenue derived from arts and culture in New York are essential to the survival of the city and to a good quality of life. Well, that's great. I'm really glad to see you. I have missed you along with Rita. And I think the idea of doing something out there, more public art. Actually, someone from out of state sent me a couple of articles on the importance of public art for communities. Mm-hmm. So good. Okay, let me push you towards sending and submitting some stuff that we could work on. Does anyone else?
That's for sure.
Good. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm not sure we'll be able to serve alcohol at those events, but we'll make it worthwhile for anyone who's attending. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, if you're able to.
Sorry, Alita. I see Peggy.
I see that. Oh. Peggy?
Oh, go ahead. You have to unmute.
Hi, thanks, Alita. I just wondered, in terms of productions, theater productions or one-act plays and so forth, do we want to encourage local writers to get their work produced? Do we want to somewhat focus on the Upper East Side, talent on the Upper East Side?
Is that for me, Peggy, or is this for Alita? Or
I was asking Alita, but anybody could answer.
I can give you one answer from my own perspective. Here is Origin's mission is promoting the work of European playwrights. Now that doesn't mean that they have to live in Europe. Of course, if there's a European playwright, or if they're Irish American or Italian American, generally speaking, our rule is if they hold an EU passport, then we work with them. But with the new direction, I've got a bit of a brief where I'm able to expand on that mission any way I see fit. And as I'm sure you know from my own past with the community board, I'm very interested in promoting people, whether it's business or artists, on the Upper East Side. So that's certainly a conversation I'm interested in having.
And if Origin is connected to 59 East 59th Street and has immediate or access to material that is easy to get going quickly, then it starts off a summer program of live performances pretty quickly. And then we could also focus and look to artists on the Upper East Side, musicians and comedians, playwrights, talent in terms of performances from the Upper East Side. But I would suggest, and again, it's not me, it's the committee, looking towards anything that would enrich people's lives by having performances outside. And we have enough warm weather, even into October, that we could certainly bring in artists who either are resident here or are focused here, and then to work also with Mick and trying to find a home for Origin on the Upper East Side, and then having those kinds of, or some kind of temporary home, and at least having those kinds of venues available. So I know that we're a community board, but we're also serving the community, and presenting art in public spaces to the community would fulfill that part of the mission. And at the same time, we have plenty of weekends to be able to find people who actually are here. So I think for me, again, I think that both artists and entities that have some connection to the Upper East Side would work. And it seems as though Origin does. So, and then again, it's supporting the community by bringing in live arts, which is part of the mission of this committee.
One last caveat, just so you know, Origin Theatre Company was actually born on the Upper East Side. Our former artistic director, George Heslin, who now runs the New York Irish Centre in Long Island City, created Origin out of his apartment just down the street from James Cagney Way. I think he lived on 91st Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. So Origin is, for all intents and purposes, a Yorkville baby.
Another circle.
Another
Thank
circle.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else?
Read it again.
Okay, Rita.
If you lived on 91st Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue, he lived right here.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that in order to boost businesses for the local small businesses, that we could have tastings before a performance, and the restaurants would come and give out the samples of their food. I know we did that before, and it was even Dunkin' Donuts came and brought stuff. So things draw people in. I don't care if it's the food that gets them to watch your play, or it's the play that gets them to taste the food. Either way, we win.
Okay, let's talk about logistics at the working group, and maybe we'll have something specific to work from. And we should also at that time devise ways to reach out to the artistic community that's here and look for both material and performers. I don't know that we can move on to another agenda item for now, unless, and then come back to you if there's something else that you'd like to add, Mick. But is there anything else right now before we do that?
No, I'm delighted, just thrilled to see you all and to actually have a conversation about this and get the ball rolling on it all. I'm very excited. I've been dying to come back to the Upper East Side since I moved to Gibbs Bay last September. So,
you know, rents have gone down here if you want to if you want to come back for good.
Oh, eventually.
Good. Okay, well, it's always fun to try a new neighborhood, but your roots are here. Well, insofar as their roots after Ireland anyway. So I invited someone who, a neighbor of mine who works with a real estate firm to talk about art on potentially landlords on 86th Street, but I don't know that Adam is here either. I didn't specifically invite Adam. Adam Wald, are you here? I don't see your name.
No, I don't see Adam currently.
Okay. Then let's just move to the next, because it's actually connected with both Peggy's point, if someone is here from Talent Unlimited High School, because I had a conversation with the assistant principal from Talent Unlimited, which is one of the 5 or 6 schools at Julia Richmond Education Complex, which we have all become very familiar with because of the Blood Center Longfellow plans to expand on East 67th Street right across from JREC. So we've gotten to know the schools, the principals, some of the parents, and yesterday I had a conversation with a parent of a student at Talent Unlimited High School, which is an audition school, as well as the assistant principal, talking about public performances on James Cagney Way. And they have a lot of different student bands or music possibilities. So we were talking about presenting music during the art show in June. Any comments on that? They have jazz, they have instrumental, and also they have an active theater department. They don't do visual arts in that school, but they do performing arts. Their partner for visual arts is the High School of Art and Design, which is outside of CB8 on 56th Street. But I think we have lots of talented students, and Rami could probably speak to that. I see that Rami is here because he's from the Upper East Side and attends school. So is there anyone here from Talent Unlimited High School?
If anyone is, please feel free to raise your hand and I will.
Virtual hand. Okay, well, I know that there's a meeting about the blood center, so maybe they're there this evening. But in any event, if we're interested in having, I know we also talked about the Muslim volunteers for music as not as the main focus of performances during the art show, but rather as something to be in the background. So it occurred to me in our conversation that we could alternate bands during the art show that we're planning in June. Any comments, any questions? Okay, well then I will move forward with talking to the assistant principal at TU and figure out who can play and what they need. Rita, I don't know that they need a loud broadcast system because it will be background music, but we could talk about that at the next time, and I'll see what I could line up. This only came up yesterday. Rita?
Let me unmute her. Go ahead.
We have to know in advance. It's not a week in advance, like a day in advance, because it is the maintenance men who do the connection, make sure everything is okay. So if they need any amplification for guitars or anything else, it all works here, but then we would need a sound permit.
Do you know from your experience if a small instrumental group would need amplification to play as, or to not be the focus of a concert, but rather?
No, they don't need amplification. Okay. They really don't. And if it's background music, the only reason for a noise permit is that that there are going to be neighbors hanging out the window complaining that it's noisy. So this way we are covered instead of having the police come and break up everything. So if there is sound projected, let me make it into projected sound, we would need a sound permit.
So then maybe we need one to avoid any problems for any music that's being played during the art show.
I'll check it.
Okay.
I'll check it.
Yeah, we want to make it interesting to people. It's our debut performance, so to speak. So we'd like to have no incidents, unpleasant incidents. Such as the cops showing up due to complaints. It's a daytime event, so maybe that helps mitigate some of the issues. Okay. Anyone else on any of these points? Okay. Let's talk for a minute for old business, and if anything else comes up, I'd like to just talk about the art show because we have some submissions. I've sent the Google Drive link around that Max and Will worked on. The submissions are being looked at and submitted. Well, they're being changed for I'm sorry, I'm blathering. We're seeing them anonymously so that we don't know who sent what in. We have some submissions, but we don't have a ton of submissions. And I'm not sure how to increase our outreach so that we get more submissions. I did ask Barbara Anderson, who spoke a couple of months ago on Art on the Ave, what they did. They were not limited to the Upper West Side. They reached out to Harlem and to other communities to get submissions, and now they have a name, so they get tons of submissions. But because we're focused on the Upper East Side, I've been trying to make sure that artists that submit are limited to those who have some connection to the Upper East Side. I did get I reached out to a friend who's an arts appraiser who has a very wide network in the art field, and she reached out to people. One of them responded who works in fabric, not quilts, but she does, I think, paintings and embroiders statements on them. It seems to be very exciting work. I emailed her back and asked if she has any connection at all to the Upper East Side. I haven't heard, but I'd like, is there anyone, Rami, could you, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but because you're a student, do you have any ideas about reaching out to other students who might have, who might be interested in submitting art for our June show?
Yeah, so I reach out to my personal network, but because my school's downtown, most of them don't live on the Upper East Side. But I would suggest emailing art teachers. Like, there's only about like 8 or 9 schools in CB8, so I don't think it's too much of a reach, but just emailing art teachers and just asking like, hey, do you have any students that would be interested? And I'm sure like if they don't know off the top of their head, most likely they would ask, like send a group email to the class and be like, hey, anyone want to participate? And that's a decision you have to make there, is that again, most of these schools aren't zone schools, meaning that many students probably don't live in the district, but since they attend school in the district, we can decide if that counts or not, so to speak.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan. Max, I'll be talking to you about how to implement that. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Anyone else have any ideas about outreach? Peggy?
Yeah, thanks. Is there any way we can soon get an article in Patch, Our Town, or one of the publications that covers the Upper East Side?
I was just talking to Max earlier about Patch and how to get something in there, because I think that kind of publicity would be really good. The problem with CB8 emails is that they're limited to people who are on our email list, and that might not, it's clearly not everybody in the community. So that's good. Do you have any, I do know a couple of writers at our town, and I could reach out to one of them. You know, Max, maybe because we're a small group, you could just unmute everybody. If it becomes chaotic, we'll
Sure.
down.
Yes, I don't know how to unmute everyone at once, so I'll just go through manually so that way everyone can be unmuted.
That's fine, and we could start with Rami.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I have some contacts at Patch I could reach out to. Like, he's an Upper East Side reporter and Greenwich, I think, so maybe he'll be interested in the story. But what are we specifically asking?
Well, we'd like to get submissions from artists. We have our flyer. Do you have a copy of our flyer?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, if you is there a way, Max, I'm not sure that this was a great idea because there's background sound. Is there a way for people to mute? Is there a way for people to unmute themselves and then, or mute themselves and not have to rely on you to unmute them? If maybe this is just too unwieldy, maybe we should just stick with what we have. Because all of a sudden there was a lot of background noise. Oh, well, I don't mind rethinking horses in midstream. Rami, go ahead. Can you unmute?
Oh, hang on, I have to unmute Rami actually.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah, so we were talking about the flyer.
Yes, well, we talked about Patch and the flyer.
Patch, yes.
So we have our flyer. It gives a lot of detail about what we're looking for, who to contact, what the deadline is. And so if we could get some outreach from, or some publicity from Patch, that might help, because I know that there are a lot of artists in the community, and particularly on Roosevelt, not particularly, but also on Roosevelt Island, they have an active, they have an art gallery that's done some great shows. I've been, but we're not reaching enough people to get enough submissions. So maybe you could coordinate with Max and you could talk to him, because I asked Max to figure out who at Patch might be interested in this. And I'll connect.
Yeah,
you.
sure.
I know.
Max, I'll email you later.
Okay.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Alita, this is Barry. I know Nick Garber at Patch, who covers the Upper East Side and has written articles about the CB8. Why don't I ask him to give you a call and you can discuss the whole project with him, rather than having.
Well, that's who I was going to ask. So, Barry, if you want to go, then by all means.
No, you call Nick. I have no proprietary interest in that. We just want to get it done.
We do. So thank you. I'll leave it to you
Okay.
guys to figure out that. Thank you. That would be great.
Rami,
And
it's all
actually, that would be
yours.
very helpful for me as well, because I was only going to start with the general inquiry email or phone number as well.
Yeah,
So that,
okay. And
Thank you,
Nick
guys.
has been, I've sent him press releases before for projects and various things I've worked on. So, and he's been responsive. So,
I would
Great.
suggest a phone call, Rami, rather than an email.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I have to contribute. I'm gonna have to leave now, God. I have to be up very early tomorrow morning. Great meeting, Alita. Thank you. Thank you for all the members. I'll see you with the next working group. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, Barry, for
Thank you,
coming.
dear. Sure.
Okay.
And I'm going to interject as well very briefly, Lita. Mick says there are a number of art galleries on the Upper East Side who may be able to reach out to local artists as well. He just messaged.
Okay, Max, if you have a chance, could you collect the names of those and we can reach out to them?
Oh, sure.
Happy to go buy them. I've also taken the flyers and I've gone to a lot of stores on 2nd Avenue, Lexington Avenue, some on 3rd. They posted them in the windows. They put them under glass. I found framing stores, not surprisingly, are particularly receptive to this. So so there's some word out there or some publicity out there, but it's not necessarily enough. There's one on my local Dwayne Reed window. Gail?
So I have
No,
to click
you're
the,
muted, Gail.
you need me to send it.
There you
Okay.
go.
Sorry about that. No, I know we want to attract Upper East Side artists, but I think we can kind of broaden the scope in as much as there may be artists that don't live here within our district or not even work here, but they may go to church here or have other social affiliations. So I think that as long as, even if the way in which they're connected to the Upper East Side may not be the most traditional manner, if we can reach out to some local churches and synagogues and certainly senior centers, you know, where people may come from elsewhere to a senior center here, so that if we just kind of start to think how we can broaden our scope. Also, we all live in buildings and there are a lot of residents. There are artists that probably live, or at least somebody has a cousin or a niece or a neighbor who's an artist. So I think that if we can just kind of start to figure out how we can broaden our outreach, I bet that can help. And also, it was what Mick was saying, and hi, Mick, welcome back to the neighborhood, about the fact that that their theater group managed to hang on despite the pandemic. But let's face it, how many different groups and individual artists who may not, you know, really have the ability to remain living in an area under the circumstances that we've been going through with the pandemic. So if we can figure out who's here and how to get them, and I know Liz is going to have her comments and she'll know better than I, but I just think we have to figure out creative ways to expand our outreach so that we can get more people.
I think that's good. I'll write back to the fabric person and see. Okay, Mick, you had your hand up and then we'll go to Liz.
Sure. Just also, believe it or not, Ryan's daughter used to among other things, used to actually have an art show a number of times a year. And the gentleman who used to run that lives in the Upper East Side. His name's John Healy. He used to have at least, he'd have at least between 15 and 20 artists coming by to show their work. Obviously, it was a place for them to try and sell their work as well on these events. But if you like, I can certainly reach out to John this evening and try and put him in touch with you and take it from there. He might have plenty of people to kind of push your way.
That would be great. In fact, if you could chat Max your email address, then Max could send you a copy of the flyer. Max, would you do that? And that'd be fantastic, Mick.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Liz?
Hold on, let me find her. Oh, there you are.
She's right up there.
Yeah.
Well, it's on my screen.
Yeah.
Hi, Liz.
Thank you. Hi, how are you? Alita, I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to respond to your email, but I do want to let you know that we will post this on our Twitter feed. So we'll publicize the show, and that's like the best way for us to do that. Okay,
That
so
would be
we'll put out your call for artists this week. And the other thing you had asked about the museums, and the thing is, every museum does this differently. So I would say the easiest thing, because I would think the board would have a connection to all of the museums within the board, is just call and talk to their communications department, because
Okay.
that's more than likely the point at which someone will, that's often the department that does the what is it, social media, which is really what you're looking for. But I do not have the connections that you need. So, but I think it should be.
Well, that's enough.
Yeah.
I didn't know who, and so
Yeah.
that's really helpful. Thank you, Liz.
That's the easiest thing to do. The other thing, there are just two other things in relation to comments that others have made. Roosevelt Island, have you reached out to Judy Birdie?
No, not Judy yet.
Just because I get her newsletter every day.
I know,
And
it's
all books.
fantastic.
Yeah, and so she just immediately came to mind as someone, and they just had a quilt show out there. I couldn't make it out there.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I went to at that gallery. It was really a remarkable display of talent from not many, but a few artists that live on Roosevelt Island. It was really, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, good. And then the other organization that just popped in my head is the Lennox Hill Neighborhood Houses.
Okay.
Because I know I don't know if they have art programs, but I know, they do run a number of different programs. So, and as you know people. So.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, and then we'll send you, when we have the flyer about the show, we'll send you that as well.
Right.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I also reached out to Greg Morris, who's on the board and is the director of the Isaac Center for connection with the people who live in the NYCHA housing on the Upper East Side in our district. And so I've been trying to have both a physical presence and through the board and through any other organizations, but that's terrific that you're able to do that, Liz. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, it's exciting to be a part of the, for me, the social media reach of the Frick. So thank you. Okay, Peggy and then Rita.
Yeah, I just had two thoughts. One, in terms of, I do think it's really important to get some kind of article in the local newspapers, but you usually need an angle. You just sending the flyer and saying we're having an art show probably won't get their attention. But if you could think of a really good angle for why they should be interested in writing the story. So I was thinking that something like the Community Board 8 goes artsy, or some, some kind of development other than just we're having an art show that that would get them to write the story. But again, it needs an angle that would really catch their attention, and preferably, as I said, something newsy. And anyway, the other thing I wanted to bring up is I actually think we also need another flyer that we should do in the next couple of weeks that not just announces that we're doing it, but sort of promotes the date. And there'll be music, something that sounds like a real festival. So I think we should be thinking about that and creating a flyer over the next couple of weeks. And that flyer, maybe it would even be jazzier than the one we had. And we'd put it in all the buildings and all that sort of thing all over the place to get attention. On that same flyer, we could advocate that it's not just come see, but come show your work. We could do both. But I do think that it needs to be a follow-up flyer that's jazzy.
I agree. It shouldn't look the same as this one because it will seem redundant to people. They will just ignore it if they think it's the same thing. So it needs to be graphically different. I've already told the places that are willing to hang up the flyer for eliciting artworks, or soliciting rather artworks, that I'll be bringing them a new flyer. And actually one local shop said they wouldn't do anything to get artists, but they would certainly put our flyer for the show, advertising the show or promoting the show on their social media. So I think that's good. And I will talk to Will and Max, who did a great job with this flyer, about something else. And if anyone has any ideas for graphics for the next flyer, then please submit them, because I do agree that we need something that pops, something that captures people's attention, and that's something that promotes the idea of the new community board initiative of City Canvas and what this does for the community. And so I'm wondering if an angle, the idea of the importance of public art or public art for communities, that having these performances, having the art shows, having art in windows, having murals is really valuable for people who live in a place to see them.
Yeah, it could be. I know we're saying, and I agree that you don't have to specifically live here, or the boundaries don't have to be tightly, you don't have to qualify on very tight criteria. But I do think that it's got to be in the newspaper, because nobody's heard of our art show and because it hasn't existed. The way you get people to really believe that it's a bona fide, legitimate thing is to be in the newspaper. And the issue, though, is maybe another possible angle is, something about generating income or generating business for these art, or some kind of angle that shows a real step up of attention to assisting our artists in the area.
Also, I think it's unusual for community boards to be engaged in art like this. They can support, but for instance, Art on the Ave is working with the local bids rather than the community boards. And they're working with the Downtown Alliance, who is very heavily for the lower Manhattan Tribeca Financial District area. So the idea that a community board, it's almost as though CB8 is broadening our connection with the community to expand to art and to treat artists like businesses in order to support them, as well as enriching and improving quality of life. At least that's how I see it. And so.
Yeah, when you present it, I would present it as a kind of fun, flippant thing, CB8 goes artsy, or CB8 goes bohemian, or CB8 something, but
you can't move down to the village in the old days.
Right, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
No, I agree. I think it's something different and it should be fun. And I hope it's fun for people. Thanks, Peggy. I think those are all really good ideas. Rita and then Liz again. Liz, do you still have, you have your hand up new? Okay, good. Rita?
Liz Daly hit the nail on the head. I took Tai Chi at Lennox Hill Neighborhood Association. They have the most incredible senior artists there. I don't know how they're getting people in, but they know each and every one of them. Their art is hanging on the walls. This would be an absolute pot of gold.
Good. Okay, I will call them tomorrow. Thank you, Rita. And thank you, Liz. Okay, let's go back to Liz.
Thank you. I just had another thought. Have you reached out to the libraries at all? I mean, I know they've been closed, but you know, they're coming back. They're going to be opening up soon, and they've got, you know, fantastic outreach.
They do, you're right. That's a great idea. Okay, I'll start on that tomorrow as well.
That's it. Okay.
Thank you. And if anyone else from the committee would like to reach out to any of these institutions, just let me know. I'm happy for the help. Okay, let's go to Rami and then to, thanks, Liz. Let's go to Rami and then to Mick.
Liz, I was just about to say that was the 67th Street branch has great outreach there. And they've been really involved with the Youth and Education Committee in the past few months. We had 2 students from Eleanor Roosevelt High School come with an initiative, and we got them a resolution. But one of the byproducts of the resolution was they started a book club with the library, and that was just all on because we were discussing it in a community board meeting. So I could reach out there too if I'm going to be doing outreach anyway. So yeah.
Thanks, Rami. Okay, that's a good idea. And I know we have a connection.
Bulletin board too, you know, like there's a bulletin board in the 67th Street. When you walk in, there's a bulletin board. So maybe, I don't know what the rules are about that thing, but there's probably an opportunity to get a CB8 flyer.
Yeah, and we have a good relationship with 67th Street. They used to host our Christmas parties. So that's good to know. Thank you. And I know on Yorkville, near on York Avenue, I meant. Good. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Mick?
Just one thing I'd like to just bring up for you. I shared with you in the chat a website. It's www.storefrontstartup.org. I know the conversation has been about outdoor events and stuff, but just you may already be aware of these people, but there's a group called Chashama or Chashama.
Right.
I don't know if you know about them already, but I know that they try to kind of, you know, they try to do these pop-up stores. They help people start small businesses in storefronts around the city that are vacant. But I do know that there has been a bit of a movement towards using this group as far as artistic endeavors go recently, whether it's live theater, whether it's art shows, and they might have some sort of information there for any of the vacant storefronts that are on the Upper East Side. It's just another great way to think about bringing art to the neighborhood too, especially in the winter months.
I know they actually were in an old restaurant, an empty restaurant on 73rd and Lexington. The building's now being renovated, but they had a temporary show there. And I know that that's what they aim to do around the city. So that's a good suggestion as well. Rita?
My last one. How about the 92nd Street Y? They do have art classes there.
They seem to be closed right now. They have they don't even have a general phone number. They have a general email. I've written to them. I think Max has tried to get in touch with them. There has been no response. I am trying to work with Marymount, who, as you know, from our last full board meeting, spent some time giving a presentation on their construction of a visual art space. I've not heard back from them, and the same thing with Hunter. So we are reaching out to institutions of higher education and art programs for adults as well. And I know the program at the Y, I have a friend who is an artist and she takes a lot of classes there. It's just very frustrating because COVID has shut down, I think, a lot of physical presence at these institutions, and there's no real mechanism to get communications or emails from the general mailbox. And this has come up personally with other places as well, from the general mailbox to the specific department that you needed to go to. And there's no, it doesn't seem to have easy access to those, but I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that we've been trying. But thank you for the idea. They do have a great program. Anyone else? Okay, because I've been spending a lot of time, I know that things take time. We just don't have a lot of time for June, but I think we're making tiny incremental steps towards getting more submissions. So, and with an expanded concept of what the Upper East Side is for artists, I think we should be able to get some more as well. Okay, any other old business? Okay, any new business? Peggy?
Yes, I just wondered, is there a time that we will review submissions or discuss the setup for the art show and details and that sort of thing? I don't think we should wait till June to do that. I think we should somehow nail things down in May.
I think that's a good point. I was thinking of waiting till 9 a.m. on June 12th, but maybe that's not the best idea. Well, yeah, sure. I'll circulate a doodle for our next working group and we could talk about the specifics of that because I know there are issues. I've also been trying to find, as came up in the last working group meeting, places to borrow easels if we need. And there's actually an organization that the two people at the talent school at JREC pointed out. I think it's called Materials for the Arts. They're in Long Island City. They gather up art materials from places that no longer need them. So they've been reached out to whether they have easels, and it's been the same thing with the institutions of higher education. I've been asking and emailing, and some of the private schools on the Upper East Side as well, if they have any easels for people that may not have their own and can't acquire any for the show. So if anyone knows any places that might have any easels or other display objects, that would be useful too, just in case we need them. And you're right. So I'll send around a doodle for the next couple of weeks and we could talk about the logistics, and they're public meetings. So anyone from the public who's interested in joining for those working groups is welcome, of course. Anyone else? And I know we have a lot of people from the public here. So I hope that you all tell your friends and your neighbors and your colleagues and your families to join us at the art show. If anyone has any connection, no matter, I guess you are here. So if you have artists that you know of that would like to submit and show in the show. And I think, and please, if I'm wrong, just raise your hand, but this is what I've been thinking. And the questions come up is that we are a community board. We're not raising any money for ourselves. We're not taking a cut of anything that's sold, that people who sell art at the art show, all of the proceeds from their art goes to them. I've been asking any artists that I've been in touch with to provide, if possible, some kind of bio or description of their artwork so that they could have them available for the public as well, who would come to see their pieces on display at our show. Make sense? I hope so. I'm not seeing any nods or any, except from Nick. So I only have a few of you up there. If there are any objections, you can use your reaction button with a yay or a nay. Otherwise, I'll send that around. Peggy, thank you. I think that's a great idea for something sooner rather than later. And I'm glad to see that there are people from the public interested in this. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, my email is camp, C-A-M-P, at CB8M.com, camp@CB8M.com. Let me Well, I can't put that in the chat, but Max can.
I
Rita?
just did.
Thank you, Max. Rita?
Mick, if you want to walk through any day, call Max. You can give out my email. And if you saved any of the people's names from CB8, my email is on there.
I have
But
it.
we can arrange you can come and see what you're doing, what's here anytime.
That's a great idea. I'll probably reach out in the next week or so, and I'll bring my pitching wedge along so we can practice our short game.
Good, good. Maybe you could teach me.
Maybe I could join you if I'm able to when you come up.
Yeah,
See, Nick, we really do miss you.
I miss you all too. I really do.
Yes, we have a good day.
Thank you so much for the generosity, Rita. Anyone else? Any comments? Any new business? Okay, well, a short meeting. Thank you all for your participation, for your ideas. I can't tell you, I've had kind of connections to the art world, but this is such a grassroots opportunity for us. I'm really excited. CB8 in so many things has been ahead of the curve of other boards in Manhattan and around the city. I think this is a great initiative. I'm really excited. I love the idea of supporting the arts and bringing it to the community as well. It's not just supporting the artists, it's supporting the community and broadening opportunities for people to have arts experiences and to see different kinds of things than they might otherwise see. I know Broadway, some of Broadway is opening in September, some not till January, but the idea of bringing theater and having more up here is something that's really valuable. I remember, just as an aside, when I was much younger, there was an improv group that operated out of a church on East, I think it was 74th Street. Things like that. And I know the Upper West Side has theater. I saw a great production of something up by the Beacon. Mick, maybe you know what that is. It's upstairs. It's a small off Broadway. To have those kinds of places on the Upper East Side, 59th Street does a great job of that, but we could have some more further north. And I think it's incredibly exciting. So I'm glad that all of you support this and to work and collaborate with everyone with different experiences on the board and elsewhere, and to get interest from the public who attends these meetings too. So I'll stop with my editorializing. I do have a lot of opinions, but I'm really excited and glad to work with all of you. And Mick, it's great to see you. Uta, it's really nice to meet you. I hope the theater does well. And I do, it enriches us in a lot of different ways. So thank you all. And I'll see you at the working group meeting. Good night. Oh, and thank you, Max.
Oh, of course, Alita.